Podcast. We're coming at you live from 1952. It's old school, it's lively, and we're here to talk about Doctor Who. Hold on.
Doctor Who. Yes, we are indeed, my good friend Geoff. That's very good. That was an awesome intro. You were born for this gig, my friend.
Oh, that's right, I was. Ring-a-ding-ding-ding. It's Mr. Ding-a-ling.
Yippee-ki-yay, mother.
No. There's something wrong with this, so let's just
What's
do
wrong,
a little
Geoff?
bit of this and make it a bit more modern. There we go.
Oh. Little Wayne's World reference for you there. So, hello, back in colour and widescreen. So we hope you enjoyed that. As you might have guessed, that's a bit of a visual reference to tonight's Doctor Who, our episode that we're talking about, which is Lux, which I've just finished watching, and Paul, you watched earlier. So, how are you today?
Me, yes, I'm I'm all right. Yeah, I've got a bit of hay fever, but apart from
just
it's all good.
Sort that out on you. There you go.
Does it cure hay fever now? Does it?
It does. Yes. There you go.
Look at that magic! Magic! It's like I've just been injected straight.
This is my rose gold one, by the way.
I got one as well. I got this one.
You got that one. I have no other 15th Doctor sonic screwdrivers.
Actually, where's my 15th Doctor sonic screwdriver? It's disappeared. It's probably flopped into some weird dimension of lost things or something. Oh no, there it is. Yay, I do have such thing. Yeah, there it is. I thought it was a mouse.
But, yeah. So tonight's episode.
Yes.
Whenever we do these, I always just want to get straight into talking about it. And Paul says we should do a little bit of chat about it, which I think is probably a bit pointless, really, because I'm sure if you're listening,
I don't recall saying that, but you could be right. My memory is not what it used to be. I'm not going to lie.
So in tonight's episode, the Doctor still can't get Belinda home to 2025, May 24th, and they end up going to 1952 Miami. To set up some sort of MacGuffin that will do some sort of thing to tassel them to 2025. But then they get drawn into an adventure.
A mystery.
There's a Scooby-Doo reference, and they get drawn into a haunted cinema where the sounds of the films are being played every night. Now,
they're still playing, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Now, a little while ago, we did an audio drama starring the 13th Doctor that was written by our good friend Lucy McCall. And this was called Our Revels Now Are Ended. And in this story, 13 and Yaz turned up in London and discover...
In the 19th century, wasn't it?
Yeah. And they discover an abandoned theatre in which the voices of the performers can be heard, and people think the theatre is haunted. Now, I'm not saying that Russell T Davies has listened to Our Revels Now Are Ended, but he will be hearing from our solicitors.
Or even Lucy's.
or Lucy's, yes.
Yeah,
it's Lucy's idea. So, Lucy, I'll let you...
I never even thought of that, but you're right, because, there was hologram technology involved in that, wasn't it, if I remember
yes, there
correctly.
Was. Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Beings of light and what have you. So, interesting. Although, to be fair, it wouldn't be the first time that beings of light, as we will call them, because obviously they're not holograms, but were mistaken for ghosts, at least at the start of said mystery, and then were revealed to be something else, obviously, later on. So, there you go.
So,
interesting.
What did you think of this episode?
Oh, you always ask me this straight away, don't you? Don't let me build up to it. What did you think of it?
I'll just pause you there. Hang on a second.
He's going to pause me.
Pause you there. If you've listened to our review of the Robot Revolution, or as it's actually Frozen, or as I call it, Paul's destroying of it. You didn't really like the episode last week. You've been gone 3 months.
I watched it a couple of times more after we did the podcast, and I will agree that some of my comments on it may have been harsh, but actually my opinion hasn't changed. So I'm still not a big fan of it. I probably I don't know. I mean, I don't hate Doctor Who. I will always watch Doctor Who, and I will always find some good stuff to enjoy in it. But I'm not going to lie. Recent episodes are making that extremely difficult for me. But that's just me, you know. And there are loads of people who love what I just don't like, and it's always a personal opinion, right? That's all this ever is, really. It's just a personal opinion, no matter what. And I'm never going to hate on anybody who loves it. In fact, I love it when people love things that are just not my cup of tea. You know, the world is too big for just one directing. You know, we don't all enjoy one thing. So all I would ask is, if I don't like it, understand my point of view. That's all, you know, because I understand yours, probably. Maybe, possibly, I don't know.
So
we're watching different episodes.
I quite liked last week, and I did say
the robot revolution.
Yeah,
you did, didn't you? Yeah. We had a good old chat.
I thought that it was the best episode of Shooty's Run so far, and I feel that has been topped by Lux. I had high hopes for Lux. Yeah, I really thought this was really very good. I might even go as far to say it was the best episode since Power of...
Grab a piece of paper. Excuse me 1 second.
This was the best episode since Power of the Doctor.
What? Really? Okay, interesting.
But still...
It's going to write some of this shit down.
Geoff
said... It's the best episode of Doctor Who ever.
If you re-edit what I just said.
Best since Power of the Doctor. So I'm just going to forward this on to my solicitors later on. Go on, continue. Yeah. I'll write some more stuff down while you do that.
Look, I'll be honest. It's
did you prefer it to last week's episode, the robots? Or was
I did.
Yeah. You did. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. There was a number
preferred it to the robot revolution.
I'm just going to use this to make that paper spontaneously combust. There you go. On the rose gold one. The previous era was up here, and this era is
the 13th Doctor / Chibnall / Jodie Whittaker era, right?
Yes.
So it's right up there, top of a mountain.
Yeah, look, you know,
we're talking foothill in comparison.
When you hit perfection,
base camp,
it can't be topped.
Ooh.
So anyway,
a lot of people would say Doctor Who hit perfection in the Hartnell years, and has never been the same since.
Yeah, it's just downhill from there. Yeah,
it's all been downhill. It's never been the same since 1963. That's when stories were intelligent. None of this cartoon malarkey. Doctor Who didn't even regenerate. He wasn't even anybody else then.
Anyway. So yeah, I really liked this one. I liked the setting. It would have been quite nice to explore.
Really liked it.
50s America a bit more, but you know the cinema they used looked great, and the kind of whole production design overall.
Was that all CGI? That?
No, I think it was a real
that Miami set. That street.
Well, the theatre was real, the cinema, but...
where did they film that then? Where was that?
Somewhere in
Wales.
Location? Yeah, maybe the top part of it was extension.
An Art Deco sort of cinema. I mean, I know there are still somewhere around there, aren't they? But it's a beautiful building, if that's the case.
It was fantastic. You know, it looked great inside, you know. And
so they used the interior for it as well? That wasn't a studio set?
Oh, I don't know. If anyone knows, let us know. Paul is...
I might just look it up. Google it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe the interior was... a set, yeah. But I really liked it. I thought the whole premise of the character on screen coming to life was really cool. I'm quite a fan of Disney animation and all of that and the history
really
there.
Is.
So
not softy when it comes to the old cartoons anyway.
I like.
That's fine because you've got 2 young kids, and you know that happens when you watch these things. You rediscover your childhood, and that's one of the best things about growing up and becoming an adult. Is experiencing your childhood all over again. But knowing that you don't have to go through puberty again, it's great.
I love watching.
Kids have to do it. So, sorry, go on. Yeah.
I love watching. But you know, classic Disney stuff with them. You know, it's amazing to watch a Mickey Mouse cartoon that's 80 years old, and they still enjoy it. So I really liked Mr. Ringading coming out, and I thought the way he was kind of
what's his name?
Dingaling. The way he was done, the drawing, the style, it was really kind of classic Disney, and the integration, really well done. It reminded me a little bit the whole thing actually of a Mickey Mouse short that was done 10-15 years ago maybe, called Get a Horse, and in it we're sort of watching the old black and white cartoon in the cinema, and then I can't remember exactly what happens, but they burst out through the screen, and then they become 3D CG models in the real world. And then
so how long ago was that?
About 10-15 years ago.
10-15 years ago, yeah.
And they used unused Walt Disney voice recordings to do Mickey's voice in it, but it gets very clever. Like they start spinning the screen round to make things flop round, or they flip it up, and they do a gag where they've got Pete falling on a three-pronged thing. So then they keep flipping the screen up and down, so he just keeps going up and down on it. And
this was 10-15 years ago.
Yeah, and so I'm not saying that Russell T Davies has seen Get a Horse or listened to Our Revels Now Are Ended, but
you're not saying that. Of course not.
But the idea, I think, of things coming out of the screen, it's been done before and things. So anyway, I really liked that, and I thought Dingaling was great vocal work from Alan Cumming there.
Of course, it was Alan Cumming, wasn't it? Yeah, he was good.
And I think that, I quite liked the stuff with Mr. Pie, and how there was a bit of kind of character to him and depth. His wife had died, and she was kind of brought back with the film via Mr. Dingaling. So that was quite a moving bit, I thought. But then the episode kind of took a turn halfway through, and sort of went a bit bonkers when it was revealed that he was one of the Pantheon and all of that, and Toymaker and Maestro and blah blah blah. And so that was fine. We'll see if that all pays off. But the Doctor and Belinda kind of getting turned into an animation, I thought was brilliant. It's kind of flipping the Get a Horse thing of the cartoon coming into the real world. It was sort of reversing it. So I really like that, and how they their visuals changed a bit as they kind of had a bit more depth to them in that scenario. And then pulling the film and getting stuck into the white celluloid space and stuff. And then of course it goes totally meta, and they come into out of the TV. And I love the way they knock the screen down. So for me, I quite like a little bit of meta stuff. So I've mentioned on here before, but She-Hulk, when that was on, really enjoyed She-Hulk. It was good fun.
What was that? Sorry, you disappeared from my feed there when you said what?
She-Hulk, when that was on.
Oh yeah.
The end of it is like she breaks the fourth wall, smashes out of your whole TV, walks into the Marvel Studios, rewrites the end of her own series, and then encounters Kevin, which you think she's going to go and see Kevin Feige, and you're like, oh my god, Kevin Feige's going to appear in it, but Kevin is a floating computer brain thing that powers the whole MCU. And then, like,
sorry, mate, I thought you were on Doctor Who.
And there's a point to this, and she says, "Oh, am I going to appear in the next Avengers film, or will I have a series 2 or something?" Kevin's like, "Yes, definitely." She says, "Oh, that's great news." "No, I'm just joking." So it's really, it kind of breaks it all down. So
like Deadpool did that as well, didn't he? Same kind of thing with the other guy, not Kevin Feige. What's his name? The guy does the Star Wars stuff as well. What's his name?
Favreau.
Jon Favreau. That's it. It'll come to me. Yeah.
He was playing Happy Hogan in World. He wasn't like really Jon Favreau.
Yeah. But all the jokes were kind of, am I going to be in the next Avengers movie and stuff like that, right? Yeah. So, and you got that added layer with Jon Favreau playing Hulk Hogan, but actually is one of the exec producers for the whole MCU back in the day and stuff.
Yeah.
So it kind of works on different levels for that.
So I quite liked the Doctor coming in
like a bit of that, don't
and
you?
meeting these fans, and I'd stayed offline mostly today, but I'd seen a few comments.
Yeah,
and
same.
I thought, oh God, has RTD broken it in an attempt to kind of trap the Doctor in a TV show? And I was kind of simultaneously really liking that part and thinking, oh God, where is he going to go with this? And then, of course, it was revealed to be just another trick of the gods, there, and they weren't real. So I was like, yeah, I quite enjoyed that, and he sort of mucked around with us a bit, and then, pulled it back.
It's quite fun how they all like Blink.
Yeah, and
Blink being a story that the Doctor's not even in.
Yeah,
very
and of
much.
course,
it's quite fun.
Blink is obviously the best episode of Doctor Who ever. So
Well, it did win a Hugo Award, so it's recognised as the critics as being really good.
Everything Everywhere All at Once won Oscars.
There you go.
It's a good film.
Yeah.
You're
saying Blink isn't a good story?
Blink is really good, but as an example of Doctor Who, he's not in it hardly.
No, I know. Which I think is kind of the fun, isn't it? In a way, to that scene, the fact they all think
that's
Blink.
funny, yeah. But
it's obviously a little affectionate kind of dig at Moffat as well, because obviously they're great buddies, aren't they? So that's Russell T Davies having a little, Stephen Moffat, you bugger, kind of thing.
Yeah, and when
so that metafiction, the fiction about the fiction, kind of works on quite a few different levels.
There's quite a lot going on there. So and Shooty saying, "Oh, what about Boom?" While I was standing on a landmine.
A landmine.
That was great. Yeah. So I really enjoyed that, and I just overall thought this was a kind of, I was going to say a sort of classic traditional Who episode, and it was in some ways, with the kind of
the setup was kind of traditional. There's a mystery. The Doctor could leave, but the pull of the mystery is too strong for the Doctor to just let it go. You can't walk away from that, which is very much in the Doctor's character.
And then but then it goes
character.
off pissed after that, and
quite literally.
I like that Mr. Pye had a bit of kind of character to him, and there was a bit of depth to him, and overall, I thought this was really good, and I sat there, and I thought, I think I'll probably buy season 2 on Blu-ray.
Really?
Yeah.
I was thinking the opposite.
Really? Well, I don't. I don't have season 1, so.
I do, and I'm still gonna keep hold of that. But I'm not gonna lie now. So there's nothing much in season 2, series 2, whatever it's called, that is making me really want to tune in week after week right now. This is so not my cup of tea. It might as well just be dishwater, because I'm not enjoying it. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not enjoying it in the slightest, which is quite a big thing for me. Being a dyed-in-the-wool Doctor Who fan.
Same with last series for me.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe that's it. Maybe there's a complete turnaround. So now I'm the negative one that everybody hates. Everybody's going to hate.
Yes. Well, someone on YouTube was surprised you'd hated it, weren't they?
I know. Yeah.
And I was like,
oh my
really?
gosh, I'm a bad guy now. I'm not sure I like this role.
But I think. Okay. So I just say that. You haven't interrupted me at all tonight.
Well, you did start by asking me a question, what did I think of it? And now you told me all what you thought of it. So I haven't actually even answered your question yet. So who's interrupting who here, really? Huh?
I thought that I'm rarely disappointed by things. I sort of try, I don't know, I sort of gauge I kind of think I know what I'm going to get on things. And that last series, that was really quite strange to be let down week after week.
It was a shock.
It was, and it's quite bizarre to have no real interest in rewatching any of it.
Yeah,
that's
how I feel about this one.
Yeah, I already know I'd like to rewatch that tonight.
Yeah, well, I have no interest in it at all. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of stuff in Lux that I liked, and there was stuff in Robot Revolution that I liked as well, but I didn't feel like any of it really came together in a way that made me want to jump up and dance and go, wow, this was amazing. And I've looked online since watching it, and like you, I kept off before, because I didn't want anything sort of colouring my opinion of it. So I had no idea how it was going to be taken. So I looked online afterwards, and I thought, oh my gosh, everybody seems to love it. And I just thought, what? Did I miss something?
Yeah.
Was I watching a different episode? Am I just a really crabby old git now? Doctor Who is dead, R.I.P. Doctor Who, which was referenced in there as well, actually.
Yeah.
That was quite fun. But no, of course not. I'm never going to go R.I.P. Doctor Who. I still love it.
But the thing is,
if this was the first time I'd ever encountered Doctor Who, so let's say, right, I'm I don't know, 9, 10 years old, whatever, and my dad says to me, Paul, sit down and watch Doctor Who. It's brilliant, you'll love it. It's right up your street. It's got space adventures in it and stuff like that. Because that's how my dad talks.
Yeah.
And if you set me down and I watched Robot Revolution, I'd be like, okay. And then if this was following it, I would never in a million years want to watch the next episode. I just wouldn't. It is just so, like I said earlier, it's just not my cup of tea. But there were some things that I liked about it. So should I tell you about those?
Yeah.
Are you interested?
Yes, of course. But hold that thought, because I just say, I think that, and we maybe discussed this a bit last series, that I don't know whether it's being aimed solely at us.
No, it's not. But, I mean, if I was 9, I wouldn't. I'd still feel the same. I'm sure.
Well, maybe you would, because you were a very intelligent 9-year-old.
I'm not now. I've actually gone downhill.
You've gone, it's like Benjamin Button.
I was literally a child genius when I was 9 years old.
But I was thinking, like, my kids, like, if we'd watched Robot Revolution, I think they probably have enjoyed it, and I think they would have enjoyed tonight until the point where it started getting a bit too. Where it started getting a bit meta.
I think they'd have freaked out a bit as well when Mr. Ringading started getting all scary. That was actually quite cool.
He looked horrible, which I thought was quite good.
With the blood dripping off the massive teeth and everything when he went sort of 3D.
And I think, my kids are clever, but I think the whole meta thing, I don't think they'd have got it, because
here's the thing. Yeah, go on, sorry.
Well, because I think, it's quite confusing, oh look, he's now in the real world, and now they're actually not real, but it's quite a Doctor Who lore heavy piece, and I think it might have gone over. It's a bit like when we actually watched Star Beast together a couple of years ago, and they enjoyed that, and then I thought, oh, maybe we'll watch it again next week, and it was Wild Blue Yonder. And I remember watching it, and I've said this before, I watched it, and I thought that was a really great episode, but I was like, my kids would have been bored to tears on this and freaked out. So I think it doesn't also, work for them, and so it's very hard for the show, I think, to please everyone.
Of course it is, and it shouldn't really try. It should just do what it does.
They should do what they want to do, and if you like,
as you want them. If people like it, they're going to love it, and if they don't, they don't. Big deal. There's going to be more stories coming on, which is obviously the great thing about Doctor Who, and as for I do think there's a silliness to these latest stories, which has been prevalent since Church on Ruby Road. And it's probably become more silly. And I think as someone pointed out to me recently, there's always space for silly in Doctor Who, and absolutely right, there is. And I'm a great fan of season 17, which is undoubtedly the silliest season of Doctor Who ever. And there are some really silly stories, and stories which are intentionally silly, and stories which kind of maybe weren't intended to be silly, but perhaps look silly through the lens of time because of budget or something or another.
You see people say, they refer to it as a silly blue box show, and I think that does it a bit of a disservice in a way, and it's almost like saying, essentially, I know it's a bit shit and a bit wobbly, but it's silly, or it's camp, or whatever. That's how I'm kind of justifying watching it, because whoever I'm talking to, might go, that's a bit shit, really, isn't it, Doctor Who? So I don't think Doctor Who is inherently a silly programme. It has moments.
I don't say it was, but it
I
can
know.
Be.
Yeah, it
and
can
accommodate that. It can accommodate lots of things. It's
I
very
think
flexible envelope.
Yeah, I've said before, it's a show that creatively is unlimited. I think but I would never say that it was a silly show overall. I'm not saying that's what you're saying, but and maybe I've totally misunderstood when people say.
Well, you haven't even let me continue yet.
No,
but,
sorry.
you know,
Yeah, see.
I was going to tell you the things that I do like about it, as I keep promising. So, okay. So starting from the start of it, you don't need to do that, mate. That just makes you look ridiculous. So,
you're in a good mood tonight.
So I really liked Shooty in this one. I thought this was the most Doctorish, at least at the start of this, that I think we'd ever seen him. He really was the Doctor for me. I mean, I loved him when he first appeared at the end of the Giggle. I thought, we've got a brilliant Doctor here. You know, he was so vivacious and so lively and had this mischievous kind of glint in his eye, and all he wanted to do at the end of the Giggle was just get in a TARDIS and disappear off somewhere, which put me in mind of, you know, Tom Baker in Robot. He just wants to leave unit, get back into space and start having adventures, and I loved that. But I don't think he's really sort of, and this is Shooty now, I don't think he's really, or the 15th Doctor has really sort of matched my expectations from that brief stint at the end of Giggle. And again, that's just a me thing. Until tonight, perhaps, you know, when I saw him in this, and as he's talking to Belinda in the TARDIS, I mean, first off, the opening shot is he's underneath the TARDIS with his legs sticking out, which is great. I love it when the Doctor does that. Head under the console, tinkering about, and there's some ridiculous bits of circuitry, an old fan, and just, you know, ridiculous stuff, which powers this mega amazing futuristic space time machine. It's got like an old fan unit from the 1970s on the floor and stuff like that. So I love all that stuff. And as he's talking to Belinda, he's building some kind of lash up. This was it like a lasso or something that is supposed to pull the TARDIS into, and he's going to call it a Vindicator, which is a really cool name. So and I love that, and that was maintained throughout. The other thing I love as well, I did really enjoy the pre-title sequence. I thought it was really creepy, and we've seen like you said, we've seen a lot. That Mickey Mouse thing, which was 10 or 15 years ago. We had Roger Rabbit, which was even longer ago. We've had even the opening of, oh crikey, is it Superman 2? It may have been that's not the first Superman, I don't think. Which opens with old, people watching the original Superman from the 1930s and 40s in the cinema, and it starts very, black and white with the old school, blah 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 blah. Yeah. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? Superman, you believe a man can fly, and then it gradually opens out and becomes colour. I think it's Superman 2 actually, and that is brilliant. So this is not an original thing, but it still had me hooked because it was such a brilliant setup, And I did like Mr. Rinky Dink. I've made a note here, mention the legs, because the legs, right? So you were talking about the old Mickey Mouse cartoons, right? Steamboat Willie and all that. Yep. If you look at those cartoons, they're not perfect, are they? The frame rate judders, and they did that with, so there's always a little jiggly bounce or something, when he moves. His legs, his arms are like doing that as he's talking around. There's this weird kind of wobble that those cartoons have from way back when, and Mr. Ding-a-ling-a-ring-a-ling had that, which I thought was brilliant. So I thought the visual aspects of that character was brilliantly observed, and I thought it was incredibly clever. I mean, it still always boggles my head when they integrate 2D animation within a real world kind of environment, and especially I think in this episode they sort of had the camera spinning around, because there was Mr. Ringadink on the auditorium stagey bit, and as the Doctor and Belinda were sort of approaching and coming down the stairs, we started to, we saw it from the back of his head, and I think the camera did some cheeky little moves to give the impression that this character was actually in a real physical space.
It was brilliantly done.
And I thought that was excellent. And okay, this is, we saw this on Roger Rabbit in the, 1980s, late 80s?
Late 80s.
But that was a multi-billion-dollar movie, right? And this was a little old TV show. So, from a technical aspect, I thought it looked great. I thought from a story aspect, that setup at the start with the cinema, when I'm talking to you, it's always terrifying, because I've always had these nightmares when things that I'm watching on TV come to life and start talking at me through the screen. Again, it's not original. We've had that before in horror movies and comedy programs and all sorts of things over the years, but I thought the way it did it actually was a really, really good hook. So I like that. I also enjoyed 1950s Americana, so that was great. Whether it was CG or whether it's a location, I don't know, but it did kind of give me the sort of Miami 1950s vibe, and I did kind of like that. I also really like the setting of having all these A-bombs being tested in the atolls and stuff like that. That's one of my... I mean, I've always kind of been a little bit sort of, I'm trying to find the right word now, but interested, I guess, is the mildest word I can think of, but interested in that period in history, that kind of post-war, Cold War, era, particularly of America, and I do like it when things are set. It's one of the reasons I really love the Ipcrest file, because there's a lot of atom bomb testing and stuff in that, and there's a real uneasiness, and you kind of realise how close we were to absolute Armageddon the world over. That's all good fun. That's probably why I like Oppenheimer as well, and you don't particularly, but that's another story completely. So I quite like that. I thought Belinda was great in this. Also, the fans are okay. So I think this is where, for me, the story took. You said it took a left turn around about here, and I think it did for me as well, because I was kind of going with it. And with Doctor Who, there's always going to be an amount of suspension of disbelief. And I think anyone who's watched any Doctor Who has to have that. It's almost like within our DNA as fans, right? We've got to suspend our disbelief. But I think different people have different tolerances as to how far they're willing to suspend their disbelief. And I was quite surprised that mine was cut really, really short, or found to be rather short, because there was a point in that sequence. It wasn't really to do with the fans. One thing I didn't like about the fans was they came across as actors. It was so apparent they were actors, right? They're not. They might be fans of Doctor Who, but they didn't really sound like anybody that I know who likes Doctor Who. They didn't. Do you know what? I think the closest I can kind of think about this is, like musical theatre, where everything is kind of exaggerated. It's not like acting in a drama show, right? On TV or even in a movie. It's a different kind of reality that they're putting on in front of you. And the reality in a musical theatre production is slightly heightened. It's a little bit more exaggerated, because they're going to burst into song at any time. And that's that's fine, because we go with that. And that's how these guys felt. They felt insincere and just not credible to me, at least in those opening few lines. It was like actors acting as Doctor Who fans, which they are, right? So there's metafiction there, right? We know they're actors. Not only that, right? Okay, so then we've got this metafiction thing, and we see the Doctor Who logo with the BBC thing on top of it when Belinda and the Doctor eventually kind of break out and pulling the frames down and all of that. Okay, it's totally bizarre. It's completely illogical, but let's just go with it. Freya wasn't buying it by this time, actually. For those who don't know Freya, she's my daughter. She's now 17. She was 9 when she started watching Doctor Who in the Capaldi years. God, that makes me feel old, doesn't it? And now she's nearly 18. And she said, "This is shit." and before we started the podcast, I went down. She's watching casually. I went down and I said, "Look, do you want to join us for this?" And she goes, "I'll give you my feedback." I said, "Well, what was your feedback?" She said, "It was shit." So she has even less tolerance than I do for this at all. So, okay, so she's downstairs watching the rest of Casually. But I don't know, something about this whole thing here just completely threw me out of the story, which I think is always a danger with metafiction. It's like I know Doctor Who isn't real, right? So you don't have to tell me that in a story. You don't have to like focus on the artificial aspect, the artifice of the fiction. I know it's a fiction, and now we have the Doctor being a work of fiction, being viewed at by people who are also a work of fiction, and I can get that, right? Because I've read around, I've watched all kinds of things, and I get what metafiction is all about. I know why people use it, and I know also that it can bite you in the ass. It can be, it's essentially what you're doing is you're taking your story apart and you're telling people this is a story. Well, we already know it's a story, so, thanks for that. But I think if you do that, there's got to be a purpose to it. There's got to be a point to, that has got to throw some kind of new light on the story from a perspective that we wouldn't necessarily get if we were too invested in the fiction as a reality. And I don't feel, and maybe it's coming later on in another episode, but I don't feel like this series this episode Lux did anything like that other than poke fun at itself and have an affectionate dig at fans and their relationship with Doctor Who. So I'm not sure why that was there, what it means to serve. And okay, within a deeper level of the story, you've got the fact that we've got a fictional character coming to life, stepping through the screen through some magical moonlight thing. So if we can go with that, why do we have such trouble with the Doctor stepping out of the TV screen? Or why do I have such trouble with it? Because it seems everyone else is fine with it, you know what I mean? So, but nonetheless, it kind of threw me out. So, and I think that's always a danger if you break the fourth wall, you know, because you're just revealing to everybody this is the string holding everything up, you know, and it's.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's a dangerous thing to do, and I don't feel like there was any real payoff to it. And the other part, just to close that little bit off, and then we'll have a chat, is at the end of that. So I actually started getting to actually quite like the Doctor Who fans. You know, I like the Blink joke. I love the fact they had the T-shirt with Talos on it. You know, the old school Cyberman from the Tomb of the Cyberman thing, and you know, I love the fact that you know, one of them had my sonic screwdriver here, and the other one had the anyway, right? And I got to like them, and there was a discussion that they knew they weren't real. So now there's a nice little play on, you know, well, is the Doctor real? But this version of the Doctor isn't real. But this is the version of the Doctor that we encounter, the unreal version of the Doctor who exists on our TV. But it's the fans here who are not real, but they are real, and they're us. So does that mean we're not real? Yeah. And maybe that's the kind of disjoint that this was trying to get across. But what really, really did it for me, what threw me out of it even more so just as I'm getting to like these fans, it goes on and on and on, a bit like me now actually. But the whole thing about, you know, Murray Gold's music is swelling in the background, and they're going about how much they love the Doctor, and you know, and trying to get behind him and pushing on. And I'm looking at my watch. I don't wear a watch, but I'm looking at my watch. It's like it's still going on, and the music is still swelling, and it's still going on, and that crescendo is just going on. And I felt physically sick, because this is the one aspect of Russell T Davies' Doctor Who that I really, really don't like. And it's this kind of almost adulation of the Doctor. I get the feeling that Russell would literally throw himself at the feet of the Doctor and hold on to him, you know, begging him not to be left behind as the TARDIS is about to take off. I think he genuinely reveres the Doctor as a god. You know, and we've seen evidence of that in a lot of David Tennant stories and what have you. You know, he's literally godlike, messianic, you know, appearing, was it in not Sound of Drums, the one after that, Blast of the Time Lords or whatever it was, when he's reborn from being Dr. Dobby to being a descending angel in a glorious cacophony of music and heavenly light. And when he's pulled up in the Titanic episode with an angel robot on either side, you know, looking upwards. If that isn't messianic, then what is? Now, I can go with that because we've all got our own relationship with Doctor Who. And that's Russell's, and that's fine. And I love that he loves the Doctor so much. But boy, oh boy, do I find it annoying at times. And that was one of the times. And then anything that happened after that, really, I was just completely disengaged from the rest of the story from that moment onwards. I couldn't jump back into it, right? I couldn't, and I just didn't enjoy it at all from that point onwards.
I'm going to put a poll out to people. Should we carry on reviewing these each week?
Yes, we should, because it's good to express this sort of thing. You know, like I said to you, I love it when people love things that I hate, and I hope we get a load of comments here saying, no, Paul is an absolute knobhead for not liking the story. It was great. What was he talking about?
Yeah,
you know?
No, I think it's just, you know, we normally like, you know, are positive to some extent. Or a large extent about anything, you know. We spent years.
Yeah, but yes, we do. But we're not doing that at the sake of something.
No, not at all. I think
there's a credibility to what we say, you know. We have to, you know, we have to feel this stuff. I'm not just going to make up.
No. I'm not saying you should. I was disappointed by last series, but this is actively annoying you.
And I had to lift you up by your bootstraps to try and show you show some light on some stuff that maybe you could enjoy, possibly, and you didn't, which is fine.
No, you know? And it was very unusual. I'm going to put an idea out here.
Go on then.
And this, I texted Paul earlier and I said I've got an idea for a podcast. I don't really know what it'll be.
You did, a moratorium or something, wasn't it?
We'll talk about it, but it will be called "I'm Unable to Move On from 13."
But I can't move on from 13. You're the one who can't move on from 13. I'm fine. Right?
Yeah,
I have no problem moving on from one Doctor to another. I love it when we get a new Doctor. I love it when we get something new, and I love it when the show tries something different. And this is trying something different.
It is, but
I just don't love it so much, and that's okay. I'm cool with that.
we didn't
Honestly,
get,
I really, really enjoyed 13 Stories. I think the level of depth that we had, the characterization, the emotional part of it, I thought all of that was just rich and beautiful and emotionally engaging. And I find this lot less shallow. I find it more a carbon copy, or it's not even a carbon copy, it's a copy of stuff that happened almost 20 years ago now, in fact in the early 2000s.
Yeah, I mean, it is trying some new things. I was going to say when Jodie regenerated, we didn't get anything new at that point.
No, we didn't. No, it's got David Tennant back.
Yeah.
He's already been in the show. He's already been a Doctor. Why did you him back?
the lineup of Doctors now looks so dumb with him in it twice.
He's just in there twice because everybody loves him twice as much, clearly.
But
there you go.
So what I was going to throw out was that this episode I really liked. It was really good. How good would it have been with the 13th Doctor? This would have been
the same. It would have been the same because the story is the same, and
well,
the character of the Doctor is still the Doctor.
But
regardless in a way of who's playing the Doctor, and maybe Jodie would have done it slightly differently. But if she'd had the same script, if Tom Baker had had the same script, if David Tennant had the same script, it doesn't change the story from what it is.
No, of course not. But I think it would have been it would have suited her quite well. And I've never really thought, I'll take a story and put, how different would it be with a different Doctor in it? Because I think you're right. It wouldn't be really. A different incarnation wouldn't necessarily, react differently to something. So it'd still be the same story, just with a different
pair of legs sticking out from under the TARDIS. This is what I mean, and this is actually why I think Lux is a really good Doctor Who story for the Doctor, because there are so many. There's a lot of stuff that Ncuti did in this that we've seen other Doctors do, and that kind of anchors his Doctor to the others for me. Yeah. Even if it is something as simple as having his legs sticking out from under the TARDIS.
He was really good in this. And what's interesting there is that this was filmed beginning of last year, and was, I think, the first one he did with Verada. I think so. And I already think that they're really good together, and
I do like their relationship.
Yeah,
they are good.
She's quite cool, and she, it's just quite interesting. She wants to get home, but the lure of going into 50s America was quite strong for her and stuff. And at the end, she I think she knows that they can't get home straight away, so she's sort of stuck here. So okay, let's I'm with you for these adventures, and I'm feeling it more than I felt things with Ruby Sunday, I think.
Yeah, I think she just feels to me like a much more three-dimensional character.
Yeah.
That was quite fun when they went into the cartoonscape and became more 3D by having depth.
Yeah.
And again, is this Russell T Davies sort of poking fun at how us fans criticise the stories in terms of character and everything else?
Yeah.
All that one had no character, there was no depth in that 2D characters. I think, and I've said before that I think Russell's characters, whilst they're good, they're much more caricature-like than character-like. I think he's like an impressionist painter, which is kind of very rapid brushstrokes, and he writes like this. If you read Rose, his novelisation, which is brilliant, he kind of writes it so fast. It's like snapshots, one after the other, but they build and they build and they build to form a really vivid, almost like a moving image picture. It's beautiful. I love the way he writes, but it's again like the Impressionists. When you look at it up close, it's just a series of very indefinable brushstrokes. There's not much there. It's down to you, the viewer. As to kind of complete that surface and kind of see the depth within it. It suggests all this stuff to you, and you fill in the rest, which I think is a really brilliant relationship between a piece of art and the person who engages with it. You're sort of invested in that creation as much as the artist, the writer is in this case. So I do like that, but I do think he perhaps doesn't fill the characters with as much detail, because he doesn't need to. You get enough from what's on screen, from what's written, to fill in the rest.
So I'm going to go over to some comments from people.
Have you had enough of me now? Is that it?
No, I'm just.
Have I gone on too much?
I've got to get this edited tonight to go out tomorrow.
You work so hard, Geoff.
So George Cairn says, I'm not a fan of animation. George, I'm quite shocked by that, actually. But I really enjoyed Lux, especially the sinister 3D version of Mr. Dingaling. I enjoyed the story.
It was scary.
The story didn't just break the fourth wall, it smashed it to bits. Quill Pen says, 10 out of 10. That was a full-on tour de force. Stunning idea. Sets, and then in brackets they built it, so that answers that for us.
Oh, there you go then.
The animation getting stuck in the film, the fans blink not boom, no blink, Belinda just not blinking, and she said something like, oh, that sounds epic, but like really,
it was quite fun.
Yeah.
Again, why? Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just...
Stephen Moffat hooting with laughter, as was I. And then William says, I think the season is off to a strong start. Love both this episode and the last. Yeah, I would agree with that, William. I'm feeling more positive about it than I have for a while now. Greg Cox says, I thought it was pretty good. It would have been better if one of the fans liked Inferno best of all, though.
Yes.
Scott Castle says, absolutely loved it. Official Steve Plays YT says, why so much use of the Amy music?
I didn't notice that.
I noticed there was a bit of melodies I kind of heard before, but maybe it's just repeating and running out of ideas. Giltster says, loved it. The perfect blend of animation and live action, the meta references, and then the best use of the Pantheon. Plus, I can't get Mr. Ding's song out of my head. George Zahora, yeah, that was pretty great. Too short, but great. Matt Price says, I have no words to try and describe what I have just seen. Honestly, that was bonkers and a mind. So good. Nothing bad to say about any of that. My favourite shooty episode so far.
Brilliant.
And then Rainer says, I like the first part of the ep, but the bit with the fans made no sense and could have been one of the captured characters or something. Oh, I see what she's saying. Yeah, one of the people that was in the... was taken by him. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, and then we had two more. Michael Moslin, better than last week. Belinda, adamant she wanted to go home, but still wanted an adventure. Harbinger stuff, boring as well. Though how the Doctor saw the letters falling off outside from inside was weird. Bex said, not one for me. Didn't enjoy it, found it a bit too predictable and disappointing after enjoying last week's. And bloody Mrs. Flood again. She looked maniacal this one with her big smile. And she says here, it's like a poor man's Bad Wolf. Look, Bad Wolf is just graffiti, okay? That's all I'm saying.
What, the episode Bad Wolf?
No, she means like Mrs. Flood turning up. People like, oh, Bad Wolf was such a good story arc. It's graffiti. And then over on Blue Sky, Chop Monkey says, balmy, brilliant, bewildering. I'm not sure if I completely loved it because bits, the fans in particular, were just so out there. When meta folds in on itself to that much of a degree, has our favourite programme had its jump the shark moment? Only time and rewatches are going to help it. Do you know what Jump the Shark refers to? Like specifically?
Is it an American sitcom?
It was in Happy Days when it had been running for a few years, and the ideas and the storylines were starting to get more and more bonkers. And they had an episode where the Fonz was on water skis being pulled by a boat, and he literally jumped over a shark. This is
weird. I was going to say actually, this happens a lot. I think in older TV shows, particularly the American ones, when they just literally run out of ideas, and they break the fourth wall. Just bring the audience into it. They just do it because what else haven't we done?
Yeah,
we've done the dream story. We've done the flashback
singing,
stories. We've done a musical episode. Yeah. Now it's just time to say fuck it.
Ian Banks says, lots of fun, but I would have preferred some more time with the Doctor escaping from the 2D world rather than with the fans, who I hope don't lead us back to the greatest show in the galaxy. And overall delight.
Yes.
If someone...
I was going to say that actually. Sorry, I just made a note. WizKid, greatest show in the galaxy. It's this idea of is it an idea that the production crew have of their fans? They all look like this and they talk like this. I mean, nowadays they meet more of us at conventions and things, so be a bit more observed. But yeah, I just found that really artificial. I thought it just hammered in there like just wasn't needed.
It's an overall delight, if somewhat rushed in places, and a lot better than last week's rehash of Sunmakers. And then Supreme Human said better than last week. Belinda dying to go home but wanting an adventure seemed a bit weird. The Doctor Who fans was cringe. The Harbinger and Mrs. Flood are annoying me though.
I agree.
So a few similar thoughts there. Paul, you had some comments on Facebook as well.
That's on Facebook, yeah. So just before I do that, who do you think, genuinely, so you all say the Rani, do you think we're going to get a Mrs. Flood payoff this series? She does seem to be in it more, doesn't she? She's making her Missy-like appearance at the end of every episode.
Oh, we just had a comment come in on Twitter, sorry, Benoit Blanc's bestie, who often comments, so thank you for that. Unironically, my favourite episode from the era, I genuinely have no problems with it. Lux was a phenomenal villain. The scene where they met the fans was something I did not think would work, but it did, and it was so fun. Reg was a highlight for me. Yeah, I kind of agree with like that. I just want to say as well, I'm going to talk to Al to see if they might be able to make a posable rubber Mr. Dingerling figure. That would be cool.
Why?
Because it'd be cool. Do I think we'll get a Mrs. Flood payoff? Well, they obviously know. They obviously knew when they started filming when the episode was going to air. Much like Chibnall knew that Halloween Apocalypse was going to go out on Halloween, and so they were able to make it Halloween themed. So the fact that Mrs. Flood said, "Oh, well, it ends on the 24th of May, which is when the finale episode is," and it made me wonder whether is that a little comment about.
It could have been dubbed in though, quite late on.
Well, it's possible her bit was shot later, yes, that's very true. But is it a comment on the cancellation rumours and things? But then if it was filmed a year ago, it's not possible. I hope they do resolve it somehow, because if we don't get another series, or there's no series for, a year and a half or something, we need some answer to it, I think.
Okay, so that's the whole cancellation thing. So you think Mrs. Flood is in some kind of way a comment on that?
No, not specifically, but she's looked at the camera a number of times. You ain't seen me, boy, and she's obviously sort of aware of things.
She watches the Fast Show.
Yeah. This week I've mostly been watching Doctor Who.
That'd be great. If she actually appeared as a different character from the Fast Show, that would be fun.
Yeah,
that'd be more fun than just annoyingly doing what she does.
Yeah.
So, because you say to me jokingly that she's Narani.
Yeah.
Do you think she's going to be a character that we've seen before, or something new entirely? What do you reckon?
I would like it if she was someone new, because I do get marginally annoyed when any character turns up and the Doctor's had an unseen existing relationship with the character, and we get he or she must be the Master, the meddling monk, the Rani, Susan, trot it all out.
The whole gamut.
Yeah, the show is creatively unlimited. It's nice to have.
So why keep digging into its
let's not
history.
have her be, River, or do you know what I mean? Just like not every person needs to be someone that we've seen before. They could just be a new character. So
do you know what? Go on.
No, I was just saying I would like it if she was someone new, but I don't know.
Yeah. Do you know what? In the Tom Baker years, there was rarely any recurring characters.
But
I think apart from the Daleks and a couple of appearances from the Sontarans, every villain was pretty much unique to every story, and there was very little reference to anything that had gone on with any of the other Doctors before that. It just did its own thing.
Yeah.
Every week a different story, bang, 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 and so on and so on.
Yeah.
So you do kind of wonder. There's a lot to be said for that. But, okay, sorry. So some comments from
Facebook,
our Facebook page then. So, some of these came in before that. So, Ben Thompson said he was really excited for this one. Looks utterly amazing. It's going to be something special. Always great when Doctor Who pushes the boundaries and does something it's never done before. That's the beauty of its truly unique format. Very true, Ben. Rebecca Lim did watch it. She must have watched it earlier today, and I had to avoid his comments. I saw her on there. I thought, right, no, not going to read it. Right, so it's on quite early today. Because it's out on iPlay like 8 o'clock in the morning or something, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, so Rebecca says, really enjoyed this episode. Loved the pacing, the premise, and the resolution. The interaction with the fans was hilarious. Belinda shone again. My favourite line was when the Doctor said, I've toppled worlds. Sometimes I have to wait for a world to be toppled. But until then, I dazzle in it and I shine. Yeah, that was quite a good line, actually, I must admit. Rebecca says, I've kept away from spoilers and I'm really enjoying each episode as it comes. Looking forward to next week. Brilliant. I think we've also got Samantha Lee Schenk, who says, also, she enjoyed this episode, absolutely ignored all of the hype and the interviews and info that's dropped over the last couple of days. And I think I'm the better for it. Yeah, I'm a big fan of doing that. She goes, I don't know what to think about the fan part because it did nothing to tie this Doctor or the episode, unless RTD has some pretty significant tricks up his sleeve for the arc, eh? Nudge nudge with me, maybe he does. Samantha says, I don't have that much faith though. Okay, fair enough. Otherwise, she loved the effects, loved Belinda and how competent / companion like she was, and finishes by saying she's really enjoying the season. Morgan Haynes says that was a very good episode. 15 and Belinda are absolutely wonderful and truly shining in this series of Doctor Who. Shooty had his Doctor moments, which I absolutely loved. What was that, Morgan? Tell us. You listen to the podcast. We know you do. Tell us, what was that? Just be sure. The scene where they bumped into Doctor Who fans, was that it? Was that the one? Finding out they are fictional characters from a TV show was brilliantly done. I would say this is warming up to be a great series of the show. Brilliant. So anyway,
good.
I'm in a minority, which is fine by me, and I'm just going to retreat into my little crabby hole like a miserable git hermit that I am, and go. There you go. But I love the fact that so many other people loved it. I really do. Because you know what? It just shows you really can stretch the envelope of Doctor Who. You can have fans as old and grizzled as me who probably don't like it. But there's still so many others who do. And that is why Doctor Who will always endure. So forget about this nonsense about cancellation or about needing to be rested. There are so many people there who are so invested and who love this show regardless. And regardless of what you might think, what I might think sometimes, but it's always got so much love from the people who watch it and the people who make it, and that is massive.
Agreed. Yeah. Well.
Word
to your mother.
Word? Is that
maybe? Yeah.
Word.
So
go with that.
On that note, I'm going to produce my Sonic again. Do a bit of that because I like doing it. There you go, in your face. We will be back next week. I believe next week's episode is The Well, which I'm hoping is a hard sci-fi epic. So we will see.
We shall see indeed.
Yeah.
Hard sci-fi. Now that should be right at my street light, right? Because you know I do like a good bit of proper sci-fi.
Yeah.
So if it is, I just hope they do it some justice and don't dick around. But
we'll see.
We'll see.
So thanks to everyone for all your comments across the various social platforms. That's brilliant. If you're still listening at this point, which we hope you are, thank you. Don't forget that next Friday, which is Friday the 25th of April, we will be live on our... Yeah, don't forget that. If you're not there, then we've got a big problem. We'll be live on our YouTube channel.
Is that Friday, is it?
Friday, yeah. Make sure you've got that in your diary.
That's quick, done it. Hey, you can't believe it's already.
That's worrying, isn't it? He's got no idea when it's happening. And we'll be joined by Al Dewar.
That's all right, mate. You did all this without me involved. I think you might have texted me once saying, you free on the 25th? And I goes, yeah. And that was the last I heard of it then.
That's not true at all.
I'm joking, obviously, yes.
So we'll be talking all things Doctor Who, but other stuff as well, I'm sure. So join in, put some questions to us.
Do please, yes.
It's youtube.com/@WhoC2C, or just search for us. come and subscribe. We're slowly growing our numbers on there. It'd be nice to hit 1,000 if we
all
can.
our subscribers. We love you.
Yes. So and follow us on Blue Skyers or whatever. So yeah, come and join in, and hopefully that'll be good fun. And we will catch you very soon on Who Corner's Corner.
See you Friday.
See you then.
The live stream event. Ciao, people. See you later. Next time.
TT and FN.
That's what he said.